Welcome to Spider-Verse Minute, the tri-weekly podcast where we watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1 minute at a time. I'm Sean Slater.
And I'm his sister Caroline.
And today, we're watching minute 63, which opens with Penny and her robot landing, and ending a minute later with Spider-Ham running along a pipe.
So I've titled this minute, All the Backstories.
Yeah, we get the introductions, or we finish Penny's introduction and get Spider-Ham's introduction, and then we get their backstories and have all three of them tell us it at once. But so Penny Parker and Spider SP//DR were first introduced in Edge of Spider-Verse number 5 in the Spider-Verse crossover event, and that debuted December of 2014. And like we had said before, she is from Earth 14512, which is a future Earth. It's from the future. Which, how do these Earths times work out? Like, because if she's from a future Earth and Spider-Noir is from a past one, and like Gwen and Peter and Miles all seem to be kind of on the same time, like, did their universes just get created like 20 years later? Or are they all at the same time and they're just like year ones are at different points?
I think that might be what it is, actually.
That their universe were created at different points, or that their year ones are at different points?
That the year ones are created at different points.
Okay.
I think that's
so it's all like 2018 in all of them, but it just so happens that Spider-Noir's 1930 is their Jesus died 70 years later, 80 years later,
something
than
like that.
than this one did.
Yeah, and maybe Penny's, they never had a Jesus.
Well, she gives a date. His was just 1,000 years before ours.
I guess. Well, I was gonna say maybe they just go by like
Jewish calendar.
Yeah, that's sort of what I mean.
Or
like they kind of go by that
different calendar.
Yeah, like they don't use like the BCAD sort of system. They use a different one, and that's why it's so
much further ahead.
Yeah.
And I like Penny lands and does a bunch of fighting moves. It's very anime.
I love it. I also love the robots' expressions.
Yeah, I like they do a good job of emoting the robot as well.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing, like, a kind of half complaint I have with her, her just like character design in general, is it's very different from the comics, where in the comics she's based off of, like, her influence comes more from like Akira and Evangelion.
Yeah.
And so this one, like, it feels like they went with the more kawaii art style that Westerners typically associate with anime.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant by traditional.
Yeah, and so it feels very kind of pandery, or just like like everything else feels very all of the Easter eggs in here are very faithful to the characters, and like a lot of effort was put into it. And then this one feels kind of like, it feels on the surface at least like they didn't really have anybody who knew what anime was, so they had to like quickly Google it.
I get that. I don't think it's that. I wonder if maybe they did, and this is just my theory and opinion, but I wonder if they did it because maybe like to help really kind of set her apart style wise. Yeah, they needed.
Yeah, they already had the dark and broody character with Noir, so it wouldn't have worked having the two of them.
And the Akira, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they would have figured it out to translate it into the way they animated this movie, but I don't know how easy it would have been to translate the Akira, or how differently it would have looked.
I mean, it wouldn't have been any harder than translating this in.
Good point. I guess more what I mean by that is more like the Akira animation style, as we said, isn't what most people think when it comes to anime
Yeah.
in terms of style. So I'm wondering if having put that in, if it would have really like translated well.
Yeah.
In that more three. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the kawaii style is more of a big stylistic difference.
I don't think art style wise it would have been fine, but it wouldn't have had the same
contrast.
It would have almost felt too similar to what like either noir or even their universe kind of feels
that's
like.
That's sort of what I'm trying to say. That the Akira would have been too similar to at least this universe, even if they like maybe even just brightened the colors to depart her from the So that's why I think, again, that's just my idea. Maybe it is just like we just wanted to make it really easy for people who aren't as familiar with anime.
Yeah. And then we get Spider-Ham's introduction. I believe we had talked about all of them before when the dimensions first opened up and we got all of their Earths. We went over the different Earths, but it's just a reminder. He's from Earth 8311 and first appeared in Marvel's Tales starring Peter Porker the Spectacular Spider-Ham in 1983.
The 80s would have come up with Peter Porker. Like, he is such an 80s creation to me. I don't know why. Like, of course the 80s came up with him. We will get more into his voice actor next minute, but I just want to point out he's voiced by John Mulaney, who I absolutely adore, and I'll gush more about that next week. I just want to bring it up now, because I just think specifically when he walks up to Peter after Peter goes, "This could not get any weirder."
Yeah.
And he just says, "But it can get weirder." I'm like, that is straight up from a John Mulaney bit.
Yeah, and the joke works really well. Even better if you take it that he's telling the truth.
Right.
And it's just like, oh yeah, he did just wash his hand. And like, that's the whole reason it's wet.
That's why I laugh so hard about it. And I'm like, this is...
Yeah.
Again,
it's kind
we'll
of that,
talk more in next minute, but it just...
Yeah, it's that, like, why did you bring that up if you didn't do that? And it's just that kind of awkward, like, person who's like, oh no, I didn't do this, and then why did you bring it up if you didn't do it?
No other reason. Like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I love that it was so goofy, like, with Peter Porker coming in, and then they all get the spider sense.
Yeah, and I like Miles gets his later. Like, he's slow. He gets his...
He's still learning.
Yeah, Peter's and Gwen's goes off, and then, a moment later, Miles's goes off, and they all say "You're like me."
Yeah, and, like, they say it differently, too. I like how it's not super uniform.
Yeah.
Like, if you can actually hear Spider Pigs is actually quite slower than everyone else's.
Yeah, the only thing that feels a bit off is... when they were up in the like crawl space still, spider sense went off.
Yeah.
Down here on the ground now it doesn't go off. So
right.
He's really slow, and the spider doesn't isn't able to detect other spider people when they're this close, I guess.
Well, he is a robot. Maybe the metal blocks some stuff.
Well, he was able to do it earlier.
Oh, good point. I don't know. Malfunction. I'm just gonna go with robot malfunction.
Yeah.
And then we jump into the collage of flashbacks, as I have deemed it.
Yeah. And so, one correction I want to make real quick is when we were talking about Spider-Gwen's introduction and her cover, I had mentioned that I didn't think this was a real cover they had done, but it was actually an alternate cover, which was why I didn't recognize it of her first issue. And it's actually kind of neat. The cover's title was "Heroes Aren't Hard to Find," which is like a fitting title for this movie.
Right.
And that cover was done by Jason Latour, who was the writer of Spider-Gwen's early run. Might still be the writer. I don't remember. But yeah, that was... We had talked about him a bit, but I didn't realize that he had done the alt cover for this, so...
Whoopsies.
Small correction. Yeah. And so we get the three covers slapped down for Noir, Penny and Spider, and Ham. And one thing I noticed with these is that Spider Noir's cover is issue 5 for to be published in November, and then Penny's is issue 6 in December, and Ham's is 7 in January, which works out because Noir's is the 5th intro we get. If you count like Miles as one of the pseudo intros we have, we get, you know, the first one is Peter, the second is Miles, the third is Peter B, the 4th is Gwen, 5th is Noir, 6th is Penny, and then 7 is Ham.
I bet they did that. I feel like they did that on purpose.
Yeah, I imagine that.
Yeah.
And also that puts then the first issue of this quote-unquote story being published in July of the year, and it then going through until June, or through until January of the following year. So it's, I mean, you know, 7-issue miniseries. It's a pretty decent length.
Yeah.
Of intros, of just intros too, though. So,
like these are just the intros.
Yeah. So the whole arc must be a lot longer.
These are just the bullet points too.
Yeah, and the prices are also pretty accurate, kind of. So Spider-Man Noir's cover price is 10 cents, and that was the price that Marvel's original comics came out at in 1961. And the 10 cents was still the same price that like Action Comics was published at in the late 30s, so that still sort of tracks as good pricing. And that they did similar pricing for the earlier comics they showed, where the prices matched the general year that the comic kind of would have, the setting would have been-ish. And then Spider-Ham's is 75 cents, which was the price of Marvel's titles in 86 and 87. But then Penny's, because she's from the future, hers costs 380 anchors. So either an anchor is equivalent to a penny, and it's only like $3.80, which is cheaper than what it is now. So they might be living through a depression. Doesn't look like it because she's got a giant robot. But or
she could just be one of the lucky ones.
Prices have skyrocketed, and they started using maritime tools as currency.
I just picture people carrying around anchors, like actual anchors, and I'm like, I don't think that's what it is, but I'm just gonna picture giant anchors that people have to carry around to pay for things.
And then we get Noir's monologue intro. And two things that I really like with his bits are the gunshots that hit the fourth wall, and the cracking of the screen is really cool. And then I really like his line about sometimes burning matches just to feel anything.
Yeah, I'll get to that one. The things I really like about his is, first off, I like that how fast they are, but it's like he drinks egg cream, not alcohol. But it's so clearly like a bar setting. But then like they show guns and stuff, so alcohol's not okay, but guns are totally fine. Yeah.
Well, it did have to abide by the
comics code.
Actually at that time it wouldn't have.
No,
but
yeah. But I still just find it funny. And I also just like the fact how he just flat out says that, like, I like fighting Nazis.
Yeah.
Not that he has to fight Nazis, no, that he likes fighting Nazis.
A big deal at the time.
I know, it was just funny to me. And I'm like, that's really amusing to me for some reason. One thing we didn't point out, but I really want to point out really quick, is so they all start the same way. It's like, I was bitten by a radioactive... Peter Porker's is different.
Yeah.
He was not bitten by a radioactive spider, he was bitten by a radioactive pig.
Yeah.
Also, when he introduces his name, why is he eating a hot dog?
Because he's hungry.
But he's a pig.
So, could be vegan.
I think it's like a turkey dog or something. Like, is that a little cannibalistic? What kind of hot dog is he eating? I need to know now.
I don't think it'd be a turkey dog because, you know, he's from an anamorphic dimension. So I imagine it's just a vegan dog.
Maybe.
And it's just brown because it's... But no, I think the thing I love about is when he says he was bitten by the radioactive pig is both Penny and Noir look over at him and are like, what did you just say?
Like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, great joke. going back to where we were. I just had to point those out because I love those moments.
And we get a time of 1933 for
Mm-hmm.
Noir, and then 31:45 for Penny. And yeah, she does like a similar jump off of the building like Gwen does and Peter does.
Mm-hmm.
And they all are, and then Spider-Ham does his run through the along the pipes that the minute ends with.
He looks like he's really struggling.
Yeah, well, he's small. He's got little legs.
I know. He's got such tiny legs. Like,
Yeah.
you think he just swings everywhere as much as he can because his legs are so small that he can't really run that fast?
Yeah.
Like, he's tried running and he's like, nah, forget this, I'm swinging. This is faster.
Yeah, and then the last thing I have with the minute is he works at the Daily Beagle
I
instead
know.
of the Bugle.
I loved the very quick smash cut from, like, as you mentioned, Spider-Noir's line about the burning matches to the end just so he could feel something.
Yeah.
It's just, like, so serious and dark tone, and then it just smash cuts. It's like, I work for the Daily Beagle.
Yeah.
It's
I'm a
just
photographer. I take
so
pictures.
cartoony and lighthearted. And
Yeah.
when I'm working like a dog, I'm like, oh my god. Like, it might be one of my favorite smash cuts in this whole movie. So, that's all I have for this minute. Do you want to move on to Penny's voice actress?
Yeah, so she's voiced by Kimiko Glenn, who's a Japanese-American born in Phoenix. And she had her first biggish role in the Spring Awakening musical when she was cast as Thea for the national tour in 2008 and went on and toured around with them. And then had her first like big breakout role TV when she was cast in Orange is the New Black and was on that through its run as Brooke Soso. And she's had some recurring roles on TV shows such as BoJack Horseman, the reboot of DuckTales, and Voltron Legendary Defender. Obviously, she's been doing some work with Netflix. She also did a movie with them, and also was praised for her role in the 2016 film Nerve, where she played Liv, which was one of the main character's friends. Yeah, so she hasn't been active too long. Shorter list of credits.
She's killing it, though.
Yeah, she does a good job.
She's killing it. I love her take on Penny. We don't get to know Penny too much, sadly.
Yeah, these three characters kind of take a back seat to the three main ones. They're definitely much more used as just comic relief in the second half of the film, or in the second part of the film, than Peter's and Gwen and Miles' relationship is focused a lot more.
I do still love them, and I hope they do more with them in the future.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, that's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We will be back next week. In the meantime, you can reach out to us on Twitter at SpiderVerseMin, MIN, or you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Spiderverse Minute, or you can shoot us an email to podcast@spiderverseminute.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Bye.